Has anyone actually seen in person at a wedding any people who have objected? What's the story? The groom's dad stood up and loudly said, "It's not too late, son," right as the bride was coming down the aisle. She sobbed the whole way down and the show went on. They're divorced now. My friend's best man yelled, "This is a mistake. They are no longer friends," but he was 100 correct. She's awful. Went to a wedding by the shore, and when the officiant asked this question, a seagull who had come to watch gave a really loud squawk. Ex-girlfriend of the groom was also the bride's cousin and not happy. Wore a borderline scandalous red dress to the wedding. You could see her waiting for the moment, but the bridal party had already paid off the minister to skip if anyone here has any objections. When the minister said, "You may now kiss the bride," and she realized she wasn't getting a chance, she stormed out, down the middle aisle stomping her heels. But the organist was playing, people were clapping for the couple, and she never got her moment. Kind of, but during the reception. When my friend got married, she intentionally didn't ask her dad to make a speech, knowing he didn't approve of the groom, and during the reception he got rip-roaring drunk and snatched the microphone out of the DJ's hands and made one anyway. He went on for a good few minutes about how the groom was trash and his daughter could do much better before several of her cousins managed to wrestle the microphone away from him and get him into a car to take him back to the hotel. It was super cringy. Well, it wasn't technically an objection, I think. It was my uncle and his fiancée. For context, he is a woman abuser. He is a violent, alcoholic, drug-addicted man-child. He is a felon who has spent a lot of time in jail for domestic violence. He can barely keep a job because he is lazy. He had already been violent with his fiancée. It was a very tiny wedding, like maybe 15 people in attendance or something. The mom of the bride is hysterically sobbing in her seat. As soon as they say "I do," she throws herself back and starts motioning a stabbing motion to her heart, and someone has to pick her up and take her away. It was a whole lot. I was at a wedding held next to a lake. Just at that moment, a speedboat zoomed past towing a skier. He yelled out, "Don't do it." Wasn't me, but my parents. They were getting married in a registry office. Waiting in the ante-room for the previous wedding to end, they were very surprised to see 3 policemen run in and cart the groom away in handcuffs for bigamy. Bigamist or not, they never found out. The dude had already paid the photographer, so he stayed around and shot my parents' wedding for free. When I officiated for my friends, I phrased it as, "If there's anyone here who may I object to this marriage, you had a decade to make your opinion known, so can it." Not an objector, but the bride started crying instead of saying "I do." It was an arranged marriage, in a deeply conservative society. She was getting forced into it. The priest just shut the prayer book and walked off. The whole church erupted. There were some fists. The groom's family felt humiliated and cheated. Guy stood up and said he had fucked the bride a few months prior. Then another guy got up and said the same. It was some Spartacus shit going on as another stood up. Turns out she'd been making the rounds through this guy's family. None of them were going to say anything, but one got cracked, and it was enough for the guilt to overflow on the rest. Including the best man, who was bright fucking red in the face when he stammered out that he had, too, not but a 2 weeks prior. Open bar though, so that was nice. Not an objection during ceremony, but right before my old maid great aunt told me as I was about to go down the aisle I didn't have to do it. I did it anyway. Shook violently through the ceremony, and the marriage was over in less than 2 years. Here's the thing about old maid aunts: they are very keen observers of humankind, and therefore many are single by choice. Lol. My sister has diagnosed borderline personality disorder amongst other things. She's been engaged 4 times but never married. At her last engagement party, my mother turns up drunk. She's a very sloppy drunk. The groom's mother makes a speech about how she hopes they have a beautiful life together. When my mom yells, "It doesn't matter anyway, she won't go through with it," she never does. To be fair, they recently broke up, so she wasn't wrong. Not exactly. 40 years ago, at a cousin's wedding, When the vows were being said, "Till death do you part," a loud "ha" came from the back, from the bride's sister's husband. The bride and groom were divorced about 6 months later. The brother-in-law was also an ass, but it took the sister longer to decide to divorce him. Not an objection, but definitely an awkward moment. One of my uncles was getting married, and his soon-to-be wife wasn't quite as well liked by certain members of our family. She was more liberal than some others, she was seen as dramatic or eccentric, etc. I don't remember the exact words, but during the vows she was making comments about their cats and something about musical theater, and was pretty emotional. One of my other uncles said, not quite under his breath, "Jesus, good luck man," when it was dead silent. It made my stepdad chuckle, and my mom and my aunt gave them the dirtiest looks. They got divorced a few years later because my uncle is trash. I felt bad for her, because I really liked her, but she's honestly doing much better without him. My dad objected to his aunt's wedding with my big bird puppet. I was 8 and it's a strong memory of mine realizing my dad was a drunk and a dickhead. No. But I wish someone would have objected to my first marriage. I used to be a wedding photographer. The groom objected, told everyone gathered that the bride had been fucking his best friend for quite some time, he just wanted to gather them all together to tell them about it. He then proceeded to punch on with the best man outside the church. I didn't get paid beyond the deposit they provided, but it was a memorable job, up there with the TV news anchorman with bongs on every table. My favorite is from when this question was asked before and I can't find the comment, but I'll give the gist. F22ish is marrying a guy same-ish age that she's known for years. Her little sister 8ish basically knew him her whole life. She called him her best friend and said they were gonna get married. During the wedding, the question was asked, and it was dead quiet, so almost everyone heard the lil sis object under breath. Pretty wholesome. No public objection, but it was really clear the mother of the groom was not excited and did not approve. Like, I didn't even know the family very well and all and could see the sharp pointy rocks ahead.